"You have no right to be here, you pathetic freeloader!" She screamed from the front porch, her voice echoing across the quiet neighborhood. I stood there, stunned, the casserole dish still warm in my hands. That freeloader was me, Emily Harper, a 36-year-old attorney who had poured her entire adult life into building a stable future for my younger brother, Luke. After our parents passed away within 6 months of each other, I inherited the family home in Dallas. Luke was spiraling, grieving, jobless. I did what any sister would. I let him live in the house, rent-free. My only request: take care of it and take care of himself. Things were fine until Jenna came along. She swooped in with her designer heels and sob story about a tragic ex-husband, and suddenly, Luke was a different person, withdrawn, jittery. The Sunday dinners we used to cherish turned into awkward silences and last-minute cancellations. And now, Jenna had the nerve to throw me out of my own house. "Go ahead," I said, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "Call the cops. I'd love to have this conversation in front of them." Her eyes narrowed. She didn't know. She had no clue whose name was on the deed, so I stood my ground. Not for revenge, but for truth. For every woman who's ever been dismissed, pushed aside, or told she's too much. If you've ever been in that place, undervalued, erased, forgotten, I see you. And you are not alone. Comment below if you've ever had to stand up for yourself when no one else would. Like and subscribe for the full story. It only gets more unbelievable from here. People say grief reveals who we really are. In my case, it revealed what I was willing to give, and how quickly that sacrifice could be erased. After our parents passed, the will was clear. I inherited the house. Luke received their savings and investments, more than enough for a fresh start. But while I kept practicing law, taking cases, keeping up appearances, Luke fell apart. He stopped showing up to his graphic design job. His longtime girlfriend moved out. He'd call me at 2 a.m. crying, and I'd listen every time, because I was the strong one, the together sibling, the one who could handle it. I told him to move into the house. No rent, no pressure. Just heal. I said he did. Slowly, he started jogging again, took on a few freelance gigs, even began smiling more. It felt like I was getting my brother back. And then came Jenna. I first met her at a diner, one of those impromptu Sunday brunches Luke used to surprise me with. She was polite enough, polished, calculated. There was something behind her smile that made my instincts scream, but I ignored it. Luke looked happy. That mattered more. They married within 3 months. I wasn't even asked to help plan. He said they wanted it, low key. Jenna's influence was instant. The house changed. Furniture I recognized vanished. Family photos were replaced with generic landscapes. The cozy warmth of our mother's living room became something out of a cold real estate listing. I tried to play along. I really did. But Jenna kept pushing me further away. Every dinner I hosted was too much. Every visit was unscheduled. She started questioning why I still had a key. Luke stopped returning texts. When I showed up to deliver holiday cookies, Jenna met me at the door with a smirk and a locked screen door. It hurt, deeply. But I held my tongue, until the day she told me I had no right to be in her house. That was when I remembered who I was. I was the one who paid the property taxes. The one who replaced the roof 2 years ago. The one who held Luke's hand while he sobbed after losing his job and his girlfriend. I was the one who kept the lights on when he couldn't afford to. And I was the one who owned the deed. So no, I wasn't going to slink away or pretend I was some intrusive outsider. I was going to reclaim my voice. Because being kind doesn't mean being silent. And being generous doesn't mean being invisible. If you've ever been that person, the giver, the supporter, the one behind the scenes, only to be cast aside when you're no longer convenient, I get it. Stay tuned. Because the truth, it always finds its way to the surface. From the beginning, Jenna was magnetic. The kind of woman who walked into a room and made people pay attention. She was always perfectly dressed. Blonde waves just right. Not a single thread out of place. Her story. Tragic, a widow, she said. Lost her husband in a construction accident. He died instantly, she once told me, eyes misty, voice soft. It changed everything. She met Luke at a grief support group. Of course she did. He was vulnerable, still mourning our parents, unsure of his next move. She saw that and moved fast. Within weeks, they were inseparable. And within 3 months, married. I remember when Luke called to tell me. "We're getting married," he said, voice almost giddy. "I know it's fast, but it feels right." "Don't do it." I wanted to. But instead, I forced a smile over the phone. "Congrats, Luke. I hope she makes you happy." The ceremony was at the courthouse. I was there, sitting in the back row with a potted plant as a gift, watching my brother commit to someone I barely knew. At the reception, tiny gathering at a local restaurant, I noticed the small things. How Jenna corrected Luke's napkin placement. How she rolled her eyes when he told a silly childhood story. How she referred to their future honeymoon as her escape plan from all this mess. I felt invisible. She avoided me mostly. When I tried to make conversation, she turned to someone else. Luke, bless him, tried to smooth things over. She's just nervous, he said. She wants to make a good impression. But Jenna wasn't nervous, she was calculated. The changes came quickly. The antique mirror in the entryway, gone, replaced with a sleek, Sulla slab of glass. The warm beige walls, painted stark white, family photos, vanished. She didn't even keep the one of mom and dad holding us as toddlers. Too outdated, she said. Each time I visited, something else was missing. My mother's reading chair. Dad's vintage record player. The serving dishes we used every Thanksgiving. Decluttering. Jenna explained, sipping wine. We're starting fresh. I bit my tongue until it bled. Then came the moment I knew things had gone too far. I arrived one afternoon to drop off some legal papers I had stored in the office. I texted Luke, no reply. But I had a key, so I let myself in. The silence hit me first. The house, once full of music and laughter, was eerily quiet. I walked through the hallway, now lined with abstract art Jenna probably bought in bulk. The office door was slightly ajar. Inside, I found my father's beloved roll-top desk pushed against a wall, used as a stand for a massive flat screen. His antique lamp was gone. The filing cabinet had been rearranged. And worst of all, Jenna's laptop was open, displaying an online marketplace listing for my mother's Tiffany lamp. Ayan Tiffany Style 800X Silent Konditayon. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. Scrolling further, I saw more listings. My dad's first edition mystery novels, mom's silver set, paintings I remembered since childhood. She was selling our family piece by piece. That wasn't decluttering. That was erasing. I took a photo of the screen and left. My hands were shaking, my heart pounding. I didn't even take the folder I'd come for. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake thinking about how easily Jenna had wormed her way into Luke's life, into our life, and twisted everything. And Luke, he was blind. No, not blind, afraid. I saw it in his eyes when Jenna talked over him. The way he flinched when she corrected him in public. The nervous glances he gave me when she started in on one of her jokes about my single life. She was controlling him. Worse, she was isolating him. Bit by bit, she was stripping away every connection he had to pass to our parents, to me. And I had let it happen. That night, I made a decision. I wouldn't let her erase me next. I wouldn't stand quietly while a stranger sold our family memories. This wasn't just about stuff. It was about love, about legacy, about standing up for the people who can't stand up for themselves. So the next time Jenna tried to shame me at the front door, I didn't flinch. And when she threatened to call the police, I smiled. Because I knew something she didn't. That house, it was mine. It started with a small omission. She thinks I own the house. Luke admitted one evening as we stood in the kitchen, the last of our family photos now missing from the walls. I stared at him. She thinks what? He wouldn't meet my eyes. When we first met, she just assumed. I never corrected her. And now, I asked, holding in a rising tide of frustration. He looked like a scolded child. I didn't want to disappoint her, She talks about financial stability and having a strong foundation all the time. When we met, I was barely scraping by. You were the only one helping me. I thought, if she knew I was living in my sister's house rent-free, she'd leave. So you let her believe you owned it? He nodded. I was going to tell her. I just didn't. That's how it began. A tiny crack in the truth that became a fault line. From that moment on, Jenna assumed total ownership, not just of the house, but of Luke, his choices, and, by extension, our family legacy. When I brought up the family heirlooms disappearing, Jenna smiled and said, they were collecting dust. We're creating our own space now. I asked about my mother's silverware. Sold to a collector. She said casually. Ron inherited everything in the house. That includes the contents, right? Luke flinched. He knew better. But he said nothing. Bit by bit, I watched her erase everything that made the house feel like home. But it didn't stop at furniture. She started telling Luke who he could and couldn't see. Your friend Matt is always trying to one-up you, she said. He's toxic. Matt had been Luke's best friend since high school. Then she, accidentally, deleted his entire contact list after installing a new phone app. Sorry babe, I thought it was a backup, she said, blinking innocently. He stopped going to his old design agency's mixers, stopped answering calls from our cousins. He even missed the annual memorial dinner we held for our parents. He was disappearing. One night, I showed up unannounced to pick up tax documents I'd stored in the house years ago. I texted Luke, but he never responded. Still, I had a key. It was still legally my house. The silence inside was crushing. As I entered the office, I saw Jenna's laptop open. And again it was like peering into a different universe. More listings, more sales. Our family treasures being sold to strangers online for cash. I snapped more photos. I had enough evidence now to take legal action. And yet I hesitated. Why? Because I didn't want to destroy Luke. I wanted to save him. But Jenna made that nearly impossible. The next time I visited, she met me at the door with crossed arms. "You need to return your key," she said flatly. "It's not appropriate for you to have access to our private home." I was stunned. Private home. This is my house. Luke appeared behind her, pale and quiet. "Maybe we could talk about this later," he mumbled. Jenna stepped in front of him. "It's about boundaries, Emily. You're not respecting ours." The hypocrisy was overwhelming. Later that week, I got a text from an unknown number. A photo of a storage unit and a message. "Ryan asked me to let you know you can collect what's left. Unit 12, code 9974. What I found there broke me. Boxes of random kitchen items. A lamp with a broken shade. Not one item I had specifically asked for. No jewelry box, no photo albums, no books. Just the remnants of a life she didn't find valuable." When I called Luke, Jenna answered. "You need to stop harassing us," she snapped. "We've been generous. Take what you got and move on." Then she hung up. For the next several weeks, I heard nothing. Luke stopped replying. Messages were left unread. I felt helpless, watching my own brother slip away. Until the day I saw the Facebook post, a housewarming party. At my house, they hadn't even invited me. I considered crashing it. Walking in, showing the deed, demanding answers. But I knew that wouldn't help. Instead, I waited. I waited for Sunday, our family dinner day. I baked Mom's famous apple pie, wrapped it in a towel just like she used to, and drove to the house. Jenna opened the door halfway. "We're busy." "Just 5 minutes," I said softly. "It's Sunday dinner." "Just pie and conversation." She sighed, then disappeared inside. Luke appeared a minute later, stepping out onto the porch. "Now's not a good time." "Luke, I've tried 6 times. 6 times you've canceled or ignored me." "We've been busy. Renovating." I forced a smile. "I saw the photos. Looks like you had a nice housewarming." His face turned red. Then Jenna burst through the door. "This is what I mean, Luke! Intrusions, guilt trips, always showing up like some sad, lonely spinster." That was the last straw. I laughed. Out loud. "You think this is funny?" Jenna barked. "Oh, honey?" I said, reaching into my purse. "I think it's time someone had a reality check." I pulled out the deed. "Let's call the cops," I said. "I'd love to see what they say when they find out you're throwing the real homeowner off her property." Jenna's face paled. Luke looked like he might throw up. And I had never felt more clear. This was the beginning of the end, for the lies, the manipulation, and the silence. When I walked through the front door after that final confrontation, everything felt foreign. Not just unfamiliar. Foreign. Gone were the smells I grew up with. Mom's lavender sachets in the linen closet, Dad's pipe tobacco lingering faintly in the study. Gone were the sounds of floorboards creaking just slightly as you turned the corner into the kitchen. Even the colors were wrong. Everything had been painted white, sterile, like a hospital. This wasn't a home anymore. It was a showroom, a lifeless, curated shell. I wandered through the rooms in a daze. The cozy reading nook Mom built from scratch with old oak and worn pillows. Torn out. Replaced with a glass-top desk and a fake plant. Dad's bookshelf. Replaced with modern floating shelves, half empty, holding nothing but abstract decor and overpriced candles. The hallway, once lined with family photos, first days of school, Christmases, even that terrible haircut Luke had in 8th grade, was now lined with generic hotel art. Not one trace of us remained. It was like we never existed. Luke hadn't just allowed it, he had helped. I reached the study and saw the final blow. Dad's roll-top desk, a piece he had inherited from Grandpa James, now shoved into a corner, being used as a stand for a TV. The small drawer that always held his fountain pens, jam as the matching chair, hand-carved walnut, was gone. I sat on the edge of the couch. Not our couch. Jenna's couch. It was cold leather, all sharp lines and discomfort. I looked around and felt like a stranger in my own story. That night, I didn't go home. I rolled out a yoga mat in my old bedroom, which Jenna had turned into a home gym, and lay down beneath a fluorescent light. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about everything that had been lost. Not just the furniture or the photo albums or the heirlooms, but the feeling, the pulse of this house, the soul. Jenna hadn't redecorated. She'd erased. And Luke. He'd stood by and watched it happen. I woke the next morning to the sound of the front door opening. My heart jumped. Then I heard the footsteps. Luke. He appeared in the doorway of the gym, turned bedroom, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "You stayed here?" he asked. Seemed easier than driving home. He stepped in, hesitant. "Jenna's still at the hotel. She wouldn't let me sleep in the bed. Said I betrayed her." I didn't say a word. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," he continued. "I didn't think she'd sell Mom's lamp, or your jewelry box. I didn't think." "You didn't think?" I cut in. "You didn't speak up. You let her bulldoze everything." "I know. She didn't just redecorate, Luke. She rewrote our history." He slid down the wall and sat on the floor. "I know. God, I know." The guilt poured out of him then. He admitted how Jenna had isolated him, How she told him I was trying to keep him dependent. How she convinced him to delete old contacts. How she once showed up at a lunch meeting with a former colleague, accused him of cheating, and caused a scene that cost him the job. She says she's protecting me, he whispered. But it feels like a cage. I sat beside him, our backs against the cold gym wall. Luke, I said gently, I think you're in an emotionally abusive relationship. He didn't deny it. Instead, he nodded. I've thought the same thing, but I keep telling myself I'm overreacting. You're not. We sat in silence for a long while. That afternoon, we find a box in the attic. Inside were the few items Jenna hadn't found yet: photos, a letter from Mom, a recipe card in Dad's handwriting. Luke looked at the letter for a long time. I miss them. I do too. That night, I showed him a document I'd drafted. A formal reaffirmation of the property deed and an invitation for him to stay as long as he needed. But under no illusions, this is his house. It was still mine. And now we'd set boundaries. He didn't argue. He signed. The next day Jenna showed up, wild-eyed, furious, demanding to be let in. Luke stood his ground. I stood beside him. This isn't your home anymore, he said quietly. It never was. She screamed. She threw things. The police were called. She was arrested. What followed were weeks of legal action, restraining orders, therapy appointments, and long nights talking about things we hadn't spoken of in years. But slowly, piece by piece, we began to put things back. Luke reconnected with his old agency. He got freelance work. He started sketching again. He even laughed at one of my stupid jokes over breakfast. And me. I finally let myself feel the anger, the grief, the betrayal, and then the relief. We repainted the walls, found old family photos in storage, hung them back up. The house began to breathe again, and so did we. It was a Tuesday afternoon when everything changed. I had come to the house, my house, with a simple goal: retrieve a few legal documents I'd stored years ago in the office. I texted Luke that morning, no reply. But I still had a key, still held legal ownership, still clung to a desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, things weren't as bad as they seemed. The moment I stepped through the door, I knew I was wrong. The air was too still, too staged. The faint scent of vanilla candles, Jenna's signature, lingered like perfume on a liar's collar. I made my way down the hallway, past the sterile white walls and hollow furniture. Every step echoed with memory and betrayal. In the office, I expected to find the filing cabinet undisturbed. Instead, it had been rearranged. Neatly labeled folders where mine once were, my documents missing entirely. I froze. Panic kicked in. I searched every drawer. Nothing. Then I spotted it. Jenna's laptop opened careless, and on the screen, an online listing. Mom's vintage Tiffany lamp. Our grandmother's wedding gift. On sale for $800. The title, Ti Fian Stian Kian Diwan. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. Hands trembling. I scrolled through the seller's page. One item after another. Dad's first edition Agatha Christie's. The silver tea set from our parents' 25th anniversary. The oil paintings from the dining room. The leather-bound family Bible with birth records dating back to 1893. Our history, our blood, sold for pennies on the dollar. I took screenshots of everything. Every listing, every price, every timestamp. Just as I was capturing the last image, I heard the door. Madison, Jenna's voice called. I slammed the laptop shut. My heart pounded as I stepped out of the office. She was halfway down the stairs, smile frozen in place. What a surprise, she said, eyes narrowing. I texted Luke. I replied calmly, holding up the folder I'd retrieved. He didn't respond. Jenna folded her arms. You shouldn't be here. I still have a key. I reminded her. Which we've asked you to return, she snapped. Which I won't be doing. She stepped closer. You're invading our space, Madison. You're not welcome here anymore. I didn't move. Where's the Tiffany lamp? Jenna blinked. What? The one you listed online for $800. The one that belonged to our grandmother. Her eyes darkened. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I saw the listings. All of them. She scoffed. Those things were clutter. Luke inherited them. He can do whatever he wants. That's not what the will says. I shot back. He inherited financial assets. I inherited the house and its contents. You've been selling off my property. She smirked. Prove it. Oh, I will. I left that day, but not quietly. I called my lawyer, pulled the deed, collected every receipt, every message, every shred of evidence. But Jenna wasn't done. She escalated. She told Luke I was stalking her, that I was obsessed with controlling their lives, that I was trying to ruin their marriage. She blocked my number from his phone, changed the locks. And then, the final insult. A housewarming party, held in my house, with photos plastered across social media. I wasn't invited. But I saw everything. The captions said it all. Our first big step together. Home sweet home. Built from scratch with love. But built from lies, more like. I didn't crash the party. I waited. 2 days later, I baked Mom's apple pie, carried it up the front steps, rang the doorbell. Jenna answered, as expected. Her eyes narrowed. "We're busy." "I won't stay long," I said. "Just 5 minutes with my brother." She rolled her eyes. "Wait here?" When Luke finally appeared, he looked tired, drained, like a shell of himself. "Hey, Maddie," he said softly. "It's Sunday," I reminded him. "Family dinner." He hesitated. "We've got people coming." "That's what you said last week. And the week before." He ran a hand through his hair. "We're just trying to keep things simple." I pulled out the pie. Mom's recipe. That's when Jenna exploded. She pushed the door wide and stepped into the doorway. "This is exactly what I mean," she snapped. "Showing up unannounced. Guilt tripping. Always acting like you're some martyr." "I texted," I said, holding her gaze. "And we said we were busy," she hissed. "You just can't help yourself, can you?" I looked at Luke. "Do you want me to leave?" His silence was answer enough. That's when Jenna said it. "You're a pathetic 40-year-old house." Yeah, and I laughed. Because it was so absurd, so delusional. "This house," I said, reaching into my purse. "It's mine." I pulled out the folder, the deed, the will, the proof. "You want to call the cops?" I said. "Go ahead. I'll wait." Jenna's face went white. Luke looked like he might faint. "You're lying," she whispered. "Call the police," I repeated. "Let's see what they say." And she did. And they came. And they took one look at the documents and told her to leave. Told her, not me. Because this wasn't just a house, it was the last piece of our parents, the last safe place. And I wasn't gonna let anyone, no matter how manipulative, how polished, how petty, take it from me. Not again. "Go ahead. Call them." My voice was calm, steady, too calm for the storm that was building in Jenna's eyes. We stood in the living room, my living room, while she fumbled with her phone. Her fingers trembled not with fear, but fury. Luke stood between us, shoulders hunched like a child bracing for punishment. "She's trespassing!" Jenna barked into the phone. "She's threatening us, trying to steal our house." I sat down on their new, hideous glass coffee table and placed the deed folder beside me. "Steal it. Honey, I own it." When the officers arrived, Officer Jenkins and Officer Ramirez, I greeted them like old friends. "Good evening, officers," I said, rising calmly. "I believe you're here because I was invited to leave a house that legally belongs to me." Jenna launched into her tirade. "She just showed up. She's been harassing us for months. She doesn't live here." "I have the deed, tax receipts, and the will," I said, sliding the folder toward them. "My brother has been living here rent-free since our parents passed. I've let him stay because he was recovering from grief. This woman," I motioned gently, "is his wife. She never had legal claim to the house." Officer Ramirez read through the papers. Slowly, carefully, he looked up. "This all checks out. The house is legally registered to Madison Harper." Jana gasped, like the wind had been knocked out of her. "No," Ryan told me. "He told me it was his house, that his parents gave it to him." All eyes turned to Luke. He looked like he wanted to disappear. "I never said that," he mumbled. "I just didn't correct you. You lied to me." Jenna whispered, voice sharp as broken glass. "You let me decorate this house, renovate it, host parties. And you knew all along it wasn't ours." "I was ashamed," he said, barely audible. "I didn't think you'd want me if you knew." "You pathetic coward," she shrieked, lunging toward him. Officer Jenkins stepped forward. "Mom, I need you to calm down." "I will not kill him do," Jenna screamed. She grabbed a vase from the mantel and hurled it at the wall. It shattered into glittering pieces. "That's enough," Jenkins barked. "If you damage one more thing, you're getting cuffed." She didn't stop. A picture frame followed. Then a ceramic dish. Ramirez grabbed her wrists as Jenkins moved in. "You're under arrest for destruction of property and disorderly conduct." "You can't do this," she howled, fighting them. "This is my house." Ramirez shook his head. "No, ma'am, it isn't." As they cuffed her and read her rights, Luke stood frozen. Tears filled his eyes, but he didn't move. When the door slammed shut behind the officers, the silence was heavy. I picked up a photo that had fallen, our parents on their 3rd anniversary, and placed it back on the table. "I'm sorry," Luke said, finally, voice shaking. "For all of it." I didn't say anything at first. "Then, why didn't you stop her?" "I was weak," he whispered. "She made me feel needed. She said I was nothing before her." "That's not true." He sat down, head in hands. "I thought she loved me." "She loved control?" He nodded. "I know that now." The next few days were a blur. Jenna was charged. Luke filed for a restraining order. And I moved back into the house. Not because I had to, but because it felt like someone had to protect it. Luke stayed too. We needed the time. To repair. To breathe. We found more listings under Jenna's name. Family heirlooms she hadn't sold yet, stashed in a rented storage unit. Police recovered most of them. The silver set. The Tiffany lamp. Even the jewelry box I thought was lost. It was like retrieving pieces of our past, stolen but not destroyed. In therapy, Luke started talking, really talking, for the first time in years. About the guilt, the grief, the manipulation. She tracked my location. He admitted one night. Showed up when I had coffee with an old friend. Accused me of cheating. That's not love, I said. I know, he whispered. But at the time, it felt like attention. She isolated you. He nodded. Deleted my contacts while I was sleeping. Told me my friends were toxic. Told me you were controlling. And you believed her. For a while, he said quietly. Because she made it easy to give in. Easy to stop thinking. She took care of everything except my soul. That night, we cooked dinner together. Mom's chili recipe. We sat in the backyard, sipping wine, watching the sun set over the old maple Dad planted. I want to reclaim this place, Luke said. Not just live in it, restore it. Make it ours again. So we did. We repainted the living room a soft seafoam. Mom's favorite color. Rehung the old family photos. Pulled Dad's desk back into the center of the study. Refilled the shelves with his books. We breathed life back into the home. One piece at a time. Luke returned to his design work, freelance at first, then part-time. His spark came back. The smile I hadn't seen in years. The way he used to laugh from his chest instead of his throat. We even held Sunday dinner again, just the two of us. But it was sacred. We lit a candle for Mom. Toasted Dad with a glass of bourbon. Laughed about childhood stories. Cried when we needed to. And Jenna. She was ordered to stay away. The court denied her any claim to the property. Her marital interest was deemed invalid. No joint assets, no shared investment. She disappeared from our lives. But not without leaving scars. Scars we chose to heal, together. Luke eventually signed a lease on a small apartment downtown near his new design firm. Before he moved out, he said, "This house saved me." No, I corrected. You saved yourself. The house just waited. He hugged me tight. Thank you for not giving up on me. Never? I whispered. As I watched him drive away that day, I knew this wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something stronger. A bond rebuilt on truth, resilience, and love. And as I closed the door behind me, my door, I whispered, "We're home again." The transformation didn't happen overnight. Luke didn't suddenly snap out of it. After Jenna's arrest, the unraveling of emotional abuse is more like waking from a deep sleep. You don't sit up right away. You blink, adjust to the light, and slowly begin to understand how dark it really was. In the days that followed, Luke was quiet. Withdrawn, he sat at the kitchen table one morning, staring at a cup of coffee that had long since gone cold. "I feel like I've been in a fog," he said. "Like my life wasn't mine." I nodded. "That's what abuse does. It rewrites your reality." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a crumpled notepad. "I made a list," he said. I unfolded it. 7 pages. Each one filled with things Jenna had done, tracking his phone, deleting his contacts, controlling, shaming him for being dependent, belittling his art, punishing him for independent thought. "She made me believe I needed her," he whispered. "That I was broken, that no one else would love me." "You were grieving," I said gently. "That's not weakness, that's human." He looked up at me, eyes raw. "I missed Mom and Dad so much. And you were always so strong. I didn't want to be your burden." "You were never a burden," I said, reaching for his hand. "You were my brother. You still are." We began to talk, really talk, about our parents, about childhood, about how it all came undone after they died. "She said you were controlling," he admitted. "Said you were trying to keep me under your thumb." "And did you believe her?" He hesitated. "Sometimes. When she isolated me, it was easier to believe her than confront the truth. The truth being that she was the one in control." One night, he showed me a sketchpad he had hidden at the back of his closet, full of incredible illustrations, some dark, some hopeful, all raw. "She said drawing was a waste of time," he said. "But when I stopped being me. I think it's time you found your way back." Bit by bit, Luke reclaimed himself. He reached out to old friends, apologized. Some were distant. Others welcomed him back with open arms. He started therapy. Committed to healing. He also began helping around the house, not out of guilt but pride. We repainted the walls, restored old furniture, and pulled boxes from the attic Jenna had ignored. One afternoon, he found Mom's handwritten recipe book. He sat on the floor reading through it like it was a sacred text. "She made chili every Tuesday," he murmured. "And I used to complain every time." We laughed and cried. He wasn't just remembering. He was feeling again. Then came the most important moment, when he said the words I'd hoped for since the beginning. "I'm ready to move on." He didn't mean forgetting. He meant choosing. Choosing himself. Choosing peace. Choosing a life beyond shame and regret. "I want to find a place of my own," he said. "Not to run away, but to prove I can stand I helped him apartment hunt. He found a small space near the design firm that had rehired him. When we moved him in, the first thing he unpacked was a photo of our family. Mom, Dad, me and Luke, smiling with summer sun on our faces. He placed it by the window. In plain view, no shame, no secrets, he said, setting down the box. Feels like starting over. And I smiled, knowing he wasn't the only one. With Jenna gone and Luke healing, the house finally exhaled. It had held its breath for so long, through whispered arguments, silent dinners, the quiet theft of family memories. But now, the stillness felt warm, not cold, peaceful. Like the walls were finally allowed to breathe again. We didn't just clean, we restored. Room by room, memory by memory. In the living room, we brought back Mom's blue throw blanket, the one she wrapped around us during storms. We hung the photo of our parents' wedding day above the fireplace. In the kitchen, we displayed her hand-painted serving dishes on open shelves, not tucked away in storage bins. This is what it's supposed to feel like, Luke said one evening as we shared leftover chili on the porch. Like they're still here. We even found a few of Dad's books Jenna hadn't sold, buried deep in boxes she'd stashed in the attic. Luke cleaned the covers like sacred relics, his fingers careful, reverent. The Tiffany lamp, reclaimed, and placed right where Mom always kept it, by the front window, catching the late afternoon sun. But it wasn't just about the objects. It was about us. About remembering who we were before the pain, and deciding who we wanted to be next. Luke began sketching again regularly. He started journaling, even attending a local support group. I could see it in the way he walked, straighter, more grounded. He wasn't hiding anymore. And I stopped over-functioning. Stopped trying to fix everything. I let him make mistakes again. Take the lead. Choose the paint colors, call the contractor, organize the garage. I feel like you're equal again, he told me one day. Not your project. That hit me deep. Because maybe I had clung too tightly. Maybe I needed to believe I could protect him from everything. But sometimes love is about letting go, not just of people, but of patterns. So, we sat down with my attorney and did something bold. We created a family trust for the house. Not because Luke needed ownership, but because we needed legacy. Oasis matters. This history, this place. Together, we ensured the home would always be a sanctuary. For us, for future generations. One evening, Luke turned to me, said, "She tried to erase us. But we're still here." And I nodded, tears in my eyes. "Yes," I whispered. "We're still here." Looking back, it wasn't the lies that hurt the most. It was the silence. The way I bit my tongue when Jenna redecorated. The way Luke lowered his eyes when she dismissed me in front of guests. The way I told myself to keep the peace as she stripped our family's soul from every corner of the house. But silence protects the wrong people. And when I finally spoke up, when I brought out the deed, looked her in the eye and said, "Call the cops," everything changed. Because truth has weight. And when you carry it long enough, you stop apologizing for its presence. Luke found his strength, not because I rescued him, but because I stood still long enough for him to find his own footing. Together, we rebuilt, not just a home, but a bond we almost lost. And that home, it's not just walls and windows, it's a story. A story about two kids who lost their parents, found themselves, and refused to let a manipulator rewrite their legacy. So if you're reading this, and someone's made you feel small, unimportant, easily erased, I'm here to tell you, you matter. Your voice matters. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is speak. Speak even if it shakes. Stand even if you stand alone. Because justice doesn't begin in a courtroom. It begins the moment you stop letting someone else narrate your worth. If this story stirred something inside you, if you've ever had to protect your peace, reclaim your space, or walk away from who tried to dim your light, drop a comment below. Let others know they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, hit that like button and subscribe. Because here, we tell the stories that remind us all. Our history, our healing, and our homes are worth fighting for.